Oh man. Uh, well, we had a pretty interesting I think that was let me try to refresh my memory while I reconfigure my buttons here. I think it was about maybe it was the Saturday or the Sunday of last week when this happened. Not now that I remember. Where I was on this one guy's page who covers Dragon Ball, and he went over to Steam, which is it's people know what Steam is, the gaming program, website. Anyways, he screenshotted from over there and he was like, "Hey, they have Fighters and Xenoverse 2 and Kakarot on sale." And I was like, "Okay, I bet the sale isn't that big of a deal." But he put screenshots of it, and I looked at it, and I was shocked. I mean, I think the going price for Xenoverse 2 is like $49.99, and they were selling it for $7, which actually, funnily enough, makes it cheaper than almost all of its DLC. Then the Ultimate Edition of Fighters, which is like $80, they were selling for 14, and Kakarot, which is another game that's 59.99, was being sold for 14.99. So even without having anything to play these games on, I recognized how amazing of a deal that was, and I got them. Now, the following Monday, a computer arrived, a PC, that I thought I could use to play it. Now, I'll be very clear about something. I'm not an expert when it comes to computers, as far as like I'll admit where I should have done a little bit more research on which PCs can run what, because I'm not that well acquainted with the different models of them. I've mostly been a Mac user. So the one I got on Monday didn't work. I tried to make it work for 2 days. The only game it would play was Fighters, and it was really slow and laggy. Um, in fact, actually, with about two of them, it would crash every time you tried to start it up. So I got another one that came on Thursday. The reason it didn't come on Wednesday, which was my original intention, was that I had this interview, the one where they made me wait 40 minutes. I talked about it in the last stream from Saturday that got screwed up thanks to my internet connection. So it came on Thursday. It was supposed to come on Friday, but they made it come a day early, and I wasn't upset over that. And I had this one relative who's been calling me several times a day for like the last week or so, and they always ask me, "What are you doing?" And I said, "I'm playing the game." They call me hours later, "What are you doing?" "Playing the game." And they're like, "That's all you do now? Is just play the game?" As I said, "Well, you got to remember, I got um, I also should mention I got the official version of Dead by Daylight, not the mobile version, the actual version, and that thing has been playing like trash no matter what device you use. But I think that's more an issue with the game itself than the actual device I have. Because my theory is if the device can play everything else good except that one game, there's something wrong with it. But I was explaining to them that I got 4 games. So, and I've only had them for about maybe half a week. I got them. I ordered them like two. What was that? The Saturday before last Saturday. But I've actually only been able to play them since this past Thursday. So wouldn't it make sense that I'm going to be actively playing? Like we've completed the main story of Xenoverse 2. We've barely done any of Kakarot. We're like at the start of the Frieza stuff, which isn't even halfway through Z. Um Fighters, I've only done I think 10% of the story mode. So, all I'm getting at is it makes a lot of sense that I would be playing a lot of this stuff as much as because I've just got it. That's why I say I think a lot of people don't understand unless they're doing something, why somebody would be doing it, or just I don't know. It's like they think that you can just snap your fingers and have the whole thing unlocked. So yeah, it's been a really irritating period with those devices. But I'd say the one I like the most is probably Xenoverse 2, because I was a big fan of the first Xenoverse when it came out. The first Xenoverse was a game where if it came out when I was a kid instead of when I was almost an adult, I would have liked it a lot more, because the character customization was something I really like. I think the second one improved in pretty much every way. Although the thing that mostly bothers me still is that, um, when you do the free battles, which is where you battle the computer, just for fun anyway, it doesn't let you have an option to have. So, for example, in a game like Tenkaichi 3, where you can have up to 5 people on either team. Sometimes you can have one person versus 5 people, 5 people versus 2 people, 3 people versus 5 people. I really used to love that feature because I could equip certain stuff and make it to where one person has to fight two or three, back to back, whatever. Um, the problem with this particular game's fighting, which I think is probably its weakest mode, is that it has, as far as I can tell, a time limit that you can't get rid of, and this arbitrary rule of it must be 2 versus 2, 3 versus 3, and what's our 1v1s. I'm like, it's so weird to me because the game clearly has mechanics. Like, there are plenty of points in story mode where it's 2 versus 1, which is like you versus 2 people, or it's you and another person versus somebody else. So I don't understand why it's so dedicated to this like 1v1, 2v2, 3v3. I don't get it, because the rest of the game is not like that. So yeah, the versus mode is definitely the weakest feature. Not only for the lack of like customization, but also the imposed time limit. But that game has so much stuff in it. You've got the story mode, and even when you finish that, you have all those parallel quests. There's over 100 of those. Um, it's so jam packed with different. That's a game where I could really feasibly, and I do, like, without only having played it for a couple of days. Very quickly did I realize and understand why it has lasted for as long as it has. Like, as much as I want Xenoverse 3, because I think the second one has been out for a very long time, and they should just make another one at this point. Um, at least I'll put it like this: I'd rather have two have a bunch of stuff in it than they make a third one and then we get only like 5 new character. I guess, um, I'd rather have one new game with a bunch of DLC every 5, 6, 7 years than 3 new games every 7 years, and then there's only like 10 new characters. I guess I'll put it that way, where because they keep adding stuff to it, I'm more forgiving. Um, whereas with the other two, I'm not so much. Just a really fun game, in my opinion. The biggest problem for me though is all that DLC. Like I said, no other game have I ever seen at any point ever that has a dozen DLC packs. That's something that is exclusive to this game, and a refusal by the developers to just make a third one. I really think they probably should have. I don't know. I'm trying to think of when a good point is. Maybe like 6, 7, 8 packs of DLC. But when you get to the double digits, I think it starts getting kind of ridiculous. And I was even explaining this to this one guy. Said if they didn't want to have that many packs, all they had to do was just hold that back for a couple of months and then release a pack that has 10 characters, instead of 5 or 4. I mean, you can put out DLC packs, but it's like, if it's going to cost 9.99 for 4 characters and a couple of quests, I do think maybe you should dial it back a bit and say, hey, how much more are we expecting people to pay on this game? Because, like I said, on Steam, you'll pay more for I paid more for the DLC than the actual game, and it would be that way even if it was at full price. So it's just I don't know. I just think things are not right with stuff like that. Like I said, it's a fun game. Um, I have noticed several things that they improved upon from the first one. I'm giving the latest review ever of that game, but I guess it's fair because it came out what 6 years ago, but it still is getting stuff released to it. I'm starting to really think we probably will never get a third one. I think what they might end up doing is just putting up a bunch of DLC, like just indefinitely. Like we'll have DLC pack 20 and 30 because we're already getting like stuff for superhero, and that movie, just came out. We'll probably get more DLC all the way up until maybe the end of time. I don't know. It seems to me if they were gonna do a sequel, they would have done it already. So I think they'll just keep sticking more stuff into the second game. And like I said, I mostly just want a sequel because I think there's at some point there should be an option to just all right, if you want to play this game with the extra stuff on it, that's fine, but just buy it here. I don't know, I just think something's wrong with the premise of okay, this game is $50 normally. Oh, what's that? You want to get some DLC too? Sure. That'll cost 130, just like because all the stuff just keeps adding up. Yeah, this game has been pretty crazy. But I do like some of the original stuff that they have. I like the super villain modes for the various characters, Frieza, Cell, Boo, Janemba, Yamcha. Because even if it's just a recolor, I like that it's part of the story. Like I put it like this: a lot of games, even ones aren't my favorite, for example, tend to get me to replay them years and years later because they have some kind of exclusive form or something there that I can't play anywhere else. Like I'll never stop playing Tenkaichi 3 because that's like the only game where you can play as Babidi or Nam or that evil Boo version of one that absorbs Fat Boo and becomes Super Boo. So like stuff like that. But even like stuff they made for the game, like Grade 8 Bardock, for example, or with Budokai 2, you have the different forms of Super Boo where he has like Frieza absorb, Cell absorb, stuff like that really can make me keep revisiting something because it's unique. It's not done anywhere else. And I think Xenoverse 2's main area of similarity to those games is the supervillain forms. So yeah, I'm very excited to play some of that later. I just can't believe I'm actually having fun playing a game again. It's been really nice to just play these. I'm trying to think of some other faults I have with it. I noticed with the time limits on the parallel quest, I usually don't have a problem with them because I'm able to complete it in less than like 15 minutes. I don't think they're that long. Um, I've only actually had the timer run out of me one time, and it was when they had like an extra mission where they for some of them they have it to where you can beat the quest and then it'll put up some further challenge that you can lose and still win through anyway because you beat the main goal. Um, but outside of that, I usually don't ever run out the timer. It's only when it's that damn versus mode where they give you 3 minutes at max to fight the other team that I start getting annoyed, which is entirely because of the way that it's structured of like, oh, you always have to have 3 people versus 3 people or 2 people versus 2 people. It can never just be 3 versus 1. So that feature is annoying. No, one thing I like about the game is the incorporation of the various forms. I like that you can go, Super Saiyan 2, 3. If you're a Majin, you have a pure form, which is like the Kid Buu version of your character, the golden form for the Frieza race. So I do enjoy the little subtle stuff that's there to, make to add some variety. I also like that if you've done the stuff with the masters, you don't have to do it again. Because if you make more than one character, it becomes really what's a good way of saying it? Annoying to keep having to play through the same masters again and again. I guess the only thing I'm a little irritated by, or I'm kind of like on the fence of, is that if you make another character and you try to play through the story again with somebody else, the game has you. It makes it to where you have to unlock on through that character the same, like the how do I explain it? You have to unlock the same stuff that you unlocked before. So if you have moves or whatever, you can still use them with the new character right off the bat. But if you have like characters you unlocked from your first playthrough, you have to unlock them again for the second person. Which I don't know. It's like on one hand, I kind of get a little bit because part of advancing the story mode is having like more access to different characters. But the other part of it is that I really think it's kind of I won't say annoying, but I don't know. I feel like it's really weird that you get to have the accessories and the abilities that you unlock the first time right off the bat, but then for the characters you have to, jump through the same hoops. I don't know. I'm on the fence. Like, there's a part of me that understands, another part that's kind of like, well, maybe we should just have this available, just period. They already did it once. No, it just has so much content. And I'll get into Kakarot, but one of the reasons I like it more than that game is that it just has more variety. I mean, like outside of the story mode, you for the parallel quest, you can play as whoever you want, and you can still get experience for your character regardless if you're playing as them or not. And I appreciate that because allowing you to play as whoever you like during the missions does add more variety to the game, in my opinion. Yeah, it's really interesting just kind of seeing how this stuff is. I haven't even tried to play online yet because I don't know, maybe I might get down. Well, I just remember they have like a recommended level or something, and I just felt I wasn't strong enough because I don't even know what I know the max level of that game is like past 90, and I'm only like 60 something. And levels in that game definitely matter because I've gone on some parallel quests that are for the later part of the game, and those because your team's levels are the same as yours, and if you go against level 80 this person, 90 that person, get ready to get smashed or creamed. So levels in that game definitely play some effect or have a role. Maybe not to the extent I'd like, but they certainly factor in. It's always interesting how the game will start like, oh, this is the recommended level before you do this. Because I think as I got better at it, I was able to, I don't want to say play more skillfully, but not be as bothered with the not being some high level or being the recommended level because a lot of the key moves do a lot of damage. So if you're able to just keep like hitting your enemy with them in addition to some, button combo, it's usually from what I've seen, it's enough to take them out. Oh. Yeah, the game's roster is probably my second favorite for any game besides Tenkaichi 3. Um And really, like, it's funny how people always make it sound like when you talk about rosters, you have this big wish list of stuff that if they don't have, you hate it. It's like the only characters I really think should be in this game that aren't there, from what I've seen, and maybe I'll have to go and look at the roster again, is probably Boo with Gotenks absorbed, because that's a major that antagonist form that I think they should just have at this point, and then maybe like second and third form Frieza. I think I know first form is there. I don't know about second and third. As far as I can tell, the third one's definitely not in there. But maybe yeah, it's like some forms for some of the villains, which are considered separate characters in the game, and then maybe Jiro. But outside of that, that's only because for the Cell part of the story, so like a big part of the game story is like, oh, this enemy is here when they shouldn't be, and this enemy's been powered up, more than they should be. I really believe if they had, because they don't have 19 and 20 in the game, they're kind of like forced to rely a little too much on the 17, 18, and 16 stuff to really be able to fully do the Android stuff justice. I feel the same way about the board, but they added him in with DLC finally. But here's the thing, right? So if I go down the list and name all the characters that I think should be in the game versus like which ones I want, that's really only like maybe 5, 6, and they've been sticking 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 characters in this game every year since it came out. So I don't really see where I have this big huge wish list and demand. It's kind of like how when you would tell these fans of fighters that, hey, I want this person there, you want this enormous roster. Like, do you guys even listen to yourself? Like, someone is saying they want this one character, two characters. This game's adding 20 with DLC. They clearly know they should have more. Otherwise, they wouldn't need any. But again, it's like you're asking for basic characters. Like, oh my God, you want to play as Kid Gohan? Like, yeah. Oh, you want to play as Super Boo? It's like, well, I mean, you have Kid Boo and Fat Boo in there, so you can only why not complete the trio? They act like you're crazy if you just want one or two more characters in the game. But whatever. Let them be outraged if they want. It's not a big deal to me. Just like people are so angry for no reason. You want this person? It's like, yeah, I do. I want them in the game. I think it would be cool if they were there. Pardon me. No, I think that the only so again the only ones I want are like more forms for the villains that are like from the manga for Z. Um that like I think should be there. Just this is my opinion. And as far as stuff that I think like I'd want, I probably um I can't really think of much except for maybe like because they put GT Vegeta in there, so maybe GT Goten. We've never actually, as far as I can tell, we've never had an adult version of him in any game. That's not like Heroes or something. And then you can make GT Gohan a costume for adult Gohan. So like it's so I said like a lot of the stuff I want is just basic stuff or something like I'm accommodating. But if I say him, I'm like I'm fully aware they don't have to put him in there. It's not going to be some deal breaker to me. It's just it would be nice if we could finally get an adult version of that character in one of these games. So that's all I'm getting at. Yeah, it's what I'm trying to think of what else would I want. Um they have Baby, they have Super 17, they have Omega Shenron. Um who else? I guess maybe General Rildo, because I don't think he's been playable in any game either. But yeah, like that's for GT. I've got maybe like two people, three people at most that they should. That I think they could add in would be cool. And that's about it. I don't like every major person from that show is pretty much there. Um, what else am I gonna say? I guess now that I can discuss Kakarot. So this game is the worst out of the three by far. I mean, it's not even like funny how like like I'd give Xenoverse 2 like a 9 out of 10, and I'd give and I haven't played Fighters that much. I've only played it for maybe like 2 hours or something, a little bit of the story mode and like some of the versus mode. But I'd give Fighters like an 8 out of 10. And I'm taking 2 points down because that roster is just now if I had the full roster for like if the base game had the full roster, it'd probably get a 9 or even a 10 as well because I did like playing it. But Kakarot is such a it's so interesting how you can have a game that has like a really good concept and then the way it turns out is so lacking. And what I mean by that is I love RPGs. I like games where you can level grind and customize and play as who you like. That's one of the reasons I've always been a fan of Pokemon, for example. But y- I'm not even joking. Like this game. So for the one thing it has going for it, I'd say probably is I think it's easy to play as far as like I was able to pick up its controls easier than the other stuff. Even though I think Xenoverse 2 is much more new player friendly because it has like button configure like how to explain this. When every time I so Kakarot's available on Steam and that's where I got it from, but the tutorial has controls that are on like an Xbox controller, Xbox One controller, so it's telling me to press buttons that aren't there, even though, and like you would almost think I'm playing a ROM of it versus the game itself on a different system. Um, but one of the biggest issues with this game is that it wants you to level grind sometimes, or at least, to go out in the wilderness, fight different enemies, whatever. Just to make a comparison with the game like Legacy of Goku 2 or even the first one, which I think is terrible, but just like with those original handheld trilogy Legacy of Goku games, when enemies would be somewhere, you had the option to like run past them or just attack them, you know. With Kakarot, there's this thing that when you're flying, you'll get like a little meter and it'll tell you this enemy's 300 feet away, 200 feet because they're like closing in on you. And sometimes they'll have maybe two of these, three of these, four of these in the air, right? I swear when you beat one of them, because you're thinking, okay, I just beat one of them and go to the next one, because they're not that hard to beat, in my opinion, most of the time anyway. For some reason, when you beat one of them, the other ones that were in the air just disappear. Like you'll go up to one of them and you'll see three other ones like waiting somewhere, 300 feet away, 200 feet away, 100 feet away. You beat that first one, and the other three just vanished like they were never there. And that's really irritating for level grinding because now you have to fly around looking for these damn things that you were of the belief were going to, be right around the corner when you finish with this one. But see, that's why I said this game is inferior to Legacy of Goku 2 because in a game like that, in a game like Boost Fury, you have enemies that once like they spawn, you beat them, then you go off screen or go to another part of the stage. You go back, there they are again. You can hit them again. It was much easier to grind in that game than in this much newer, much larger game because of just crappier mechanics in the newer one than the older one. And that's really irritating due to the fact that a lot of like I like grinding. I like, fighting random enemies and getting stronger, but it's hard to do that thanks to the way they formatted it. So this means that a lot of times, I mean, like a grinding fest, if it's done if it's like if you had enemies just flying around, you could like fight them there. It would be so much easier to grind in that game. But because you have to keep flying around looking and seeing if there's more somewhere, it's going to make trying to just increase by one level much harder. And it's almost like the game knows that to some extent because it gives you these off-screen um this one person said Toriyama hand job, but it gives you this it gives you these off-screen power-ups where like for example, you first start the game as Goku and then, spoiler alert, he dies fighting Raditz. Then when you play as him again, he's like 10 levels stronger, 15 levels stronger, you know. It does this thing where like it does some of the leveling off screen for you when you're not playing as that person, but it still is really annoying that you even have to like have to rely on the game to do that for you. Like, oh, it's hard as hell to get stronger by like 2 levels in this game. Please take this person and level them up for me off, when I can't play as them. That would be so much better. No, it's a game that has level of enjoyment to it. Like I think it's really easy to dodge attacks, and I do appreciate that because at a certain point you do need to have some level of skill to beat it, in my view. Um, but it's so irritating that they made it very difficult to do because levels in that game do matter. When you're a higher level, you get more to your attack power, defense, health, whatever. Like every stat gets boosted. So to take this essential feature of the game, and because of the way you've programmed it, make it difficult to fight multiple enemies that can give you experience points to reach some higher level. It does artificially drag out the length of the game. Like a lot of enemies, I just go, all right, I'm probably gonna lose this person, but I don't feel like sitting here and flying around for 3 hours trying to fight 2 people. Man, whoever programmed that mechanic, just I don't know what was wrong with them. That's really bad. I mean, I don't like, and it's crazy that we haven't even gotten to the terrible roster yet. Um, so this game covers the whole story of Z, and in a game that covers the whole story of Z, you have about 6 playable characters. I always say the Saiyans and Piccolo, but I'll just say them. So Goku, Vegeta, Gohan, Piccolo, Trunks, and then Gotenks. And I guess Goten for like a little tiny brief part of the game. Apparently, that's what somebody's claiming to me anyway. But what I thought was really crazy is that from what I've learned, you only play as Trunks and have to like fight as him once, which is against because they have it like a cutscene where he takes out Frieza. And I said, so what's crazy to me is that this game that covers the whole story of Z, that includes filler, because the game thrives on like having stuff that's not in the show or the movie, whatever, not movie, but just like that's not canonical to the manga, I should say. This game covers the whole story of Z, and you can't play as Krillin. And I guess what drives me nuts is that in the game, they have multiple fights that he's involved with. Because I said before, the biggest problem with this game to me is its unrealized potential. It's a game that purposefully, at almost every turn, limits itself in terms of what it could be. And one of the examples of this is when you start getting into some of the story mode battles. Like you have to fight Raditz, for example, but you can only fight him as Goku. You fight Nappa, but you can only fight him as Gohan, even though this is a fight where Piccolo was a participant. And it's like that's one of the problems I have with the game, that there's so many options where they can increase, because like I said, RPGs, a lot of people thrive on being able to pick who they want, level up however much they like, off of like actually what's the way of saying it, being able to customize their experience. So when you have an RPG that pigeonholes you and say, no, you will play as this person, you can't play as anybody else, that's stupid. But as I was saying, the Krillin thing really gets on my nerves because um you could have him fight Nappa. Like you could switch out between either him or Gohan depending on who you want to play as for that fight. You could have him fight Vegeta, depending on who you want to play as for that fight. Um, because the game forces you to play as Gohan for those 2 instances. But it's just like I don't understand why in a game uh, that calls itself trying to be an RPG, and it's like adapting the whole story of Z, you would make either version of Trunks a playable character when they're both basically only important or in the story for one arc, but then not use Krillin, who's in the whole damn thing. And like I said, we know this isn't like it because they always like, oh, they get less important as things. It's like, well, Piccolo doesn't have any fights in the Buu saga, and he still is playable in this game. So I don't know. I just really think like it's nuts that they just didn't have. He's a support character that you just can't play as him. I think that's really stupid. I think that if they had added him, it would have added a layer of customization to the game where you have the option to play as one of two people instead of the same person. Because a lot of the battles in Z, especially before the cell stuff, have multiple people participating. So it would be much cooler if instead of being forced to play as Gohan or Vegeta, you can play as one of the two of them or Krillin, depending on what the fight is or what the scenario is. I just think that would have been much better than the purposeful pigeonholing that they do in this game. Because like I said, he fights Nappa, Vegeta, um, the Ginyu Force. Well, Raccoon and Captain Ginyu after he takes Goku's body specifically, but like Frieza. I mean, he has multiple fights, and especially since they're adding filler, they could have him fight first form Cell, which he did in the show, as well as second form Cell, as well as third form Cell. And the cool thing is, for third form Cell, it could be a hard as hell fight where you don't even have to win it. I just thought that was so lame that like they don't even bother to incorporate. And really, there was another person that was mad Tien wasn't playable. I at first I was kind of like, well, he doesn't have that big of a role in Z, but considering that they have Future Trunks playable and he only has one fight in the whole game, Tien definitely could have been playable. They could have had him versus Cell. Or going back to my customization thing again, they could have had it to where when you fight Android 20, you can pick as you can play as either Gohan, Piccolo, Vegeta, Tien, Krillin, because that's how it was in the show. They were all looking for him. When you fight 18 and 17, right after, she breaks Vegeta's arm, you can play as Piccolo, Trunks, Tien, it's just I just don't understand why that like this never occurred to developers. Like why pigeonhole yourself to this really tiny cast of characters? I don't know, man. Like I at one point I even proposed the idea that they should have it to where you could play as whoever you want at any point, and then the story mode like changes depending on who beats who and whatnot. Like an alternate scenario type thing where you just have to do the basic core thing of like beat Frieza, but you can beat him as you know Goku, Piccolo, Gohan, whatever. But it's like they really just refuse to do anything that remotely could be considered creative. They're going to have this story mode and they're going to fulfill it to its most basic premise by limiting the number of characters you can play as, making it very difficult to level grind because of their world layouts. And it's just sad, man, because it's like, I've got this game with these other two games. The other two games I know I'm going to play indefinitely. This one, I really do believe once I beat it, I'm uninstalling it because I don't. It just seems like it has the least replay value of any of them. Like, there's no multiplayer. As far as I can tell, there's no online mode. It's just a really lame game, man. And it's got some redeeming qualities. I liked the combat system where you can like go up and punch, and then your enemy is like powering up some big attack, and you can like you can either keep punching and take them out, or try to dodge it. When they're firing blast, you're dodging the blast. Even though my hand was hurting after that Goku versus Vegeta fight, but it's like I there's certain stuff I do like about the game. It's just that it seems to get in its own way too many times. Is what I'm getting at. God, man, I was so excited when that game got announced. It was that 3, 4 years ago because I really do like RPGs, and I wish this series had more of those than just straight up fighting games. Like I like having open worlds, like being able to fly around the world map and travel here, travel there, fight this person if you want, fight him if you don't fight him if you don't want. I like that. But again, the game limits itself to where I can't even realistically say this is good or this is something that, that's actually like benefiting anybody. Like this is some revolutionary game that we've never had before. Because like I said, I really do think I'd probably, but if I'm given the choice of playing this game indefinitely or something like Legacy of Goku 2 or Boost Fury, I'm probably going to pick one of those two over this. Because even if those games have like tiny rosters too, um, at least they have the excuse of having come out like 20 years ago. This is a relatively new game, came out 2 years ago that just gets in its way. And like I heard the Trunks DLC is good. I'm not I don't feel like getting any DLC. Like if the base game doesn't impress me, I'm not going to get any DLC for it. And then the problem is with a lot of the DLC because it goes straight to that same thing of like everything being having to follow the rigid story so much. Um, Pretty much all you're gonna do is just take Goku and Vegeta and just power them up even more and make them like way stronger than the rest of your characters, which I don't really find appealing at all. So I'd rather just end it at Z than continue on forward. Maybe if they do a Tournament of Power DLC, I might consider it. But then that's going to probably suck too because you only can play as what, four people out of that whole tournament team unless they make it to where you can finally play as Krillin and eight. It's like, but then why weren't they playable in the base game? So I said, so like either way you spin it, the game's like really limiting of itself. I'm really imagining Kakarot uh, Tournament of Power or Universe Survival Arc DLC, and then like the tournament, you just play as Goku, Vegeta, Gohan, and like maybe Piccolo for a little bit. It's like, yay, what great fun! Only being able to play as less than half of my Universe 7 team. And see, DLC, like if they made it to where for that DLC you could play as anyone from Universe 7, I would actually be excited. I would say, "Oh, that's so cool. You can yeah." And then you can have any one of them you want win the Tournament of Power. But they won't do that. No, they have to follow the story mode. The story mode has to follow the story that we've all seen 1,000 times. To a T. I forgot. That would actually be really cool if like the game like if they do a Tournament of Power DLC and they let you play as whoever you want from the Universe 7 team. And you can like after you beat the tournament, you can still play as anyone you want. You can go around fighting whoever you want. If you want to do another tournament, like that would actually be really cool. You have like training for it. Of course, they're not going to do that. If they ever do because they're talking about doing a Bardock DLC, which I have no interest in. I'm tired of playing the Saiyans. Like, and again, that's another problem I have. It's like why you're gonna. So again, I can play as Bardock, a character who's in like what, one movie, two movies, three movies. Probably has like a grand total of two appearances in like in the manga. It's like I can play as that person, but I can't play as Krillin. Okay, that makes sense. Oh man. No, the more I think about it, they probably are going to do a Broly DLC before they would do a Tournament of Power one, which I'm definitely not going to get that because just more Goku and Vegeta. Give me a DLC where I can play as more than two people and I'll be happy. DLC has just completely ruined these games, man. These developers, they're just like, well, we can put out this half finished, unpolished mess, and then we'll be on our way. Because we know that people will buy it anyway since Dragon Ball's in the title and everybody loves this series so much. And to where they'll just blindly support anything with its name on it. Which is really scary that like companies know they can just put out subpar or half finished products and get people to like play it or watch it. Like that should scare everybody. No, no, a Tournament of Power DLC would actually be one of the few things they could do that would excite me. And like people are talking about, oh, they should do a Kakarot 2 where you can play through the story of Super. I said, well, the problem is the story of Super is kind of what's a good way of putting it? So, like I said, the biggest problem for me with this game, besides how hard it is to even level up in an RPG, like actually train and level grind, is the really poor roster that it has. And if you make a game based off of Super, you're just going to be doubling down on the same garbage. I mean, like what you're gonna be able to play as Goku and Vegeta, and then maybe Trunks for one arc, and then for a Tournament of Power, you're suddenly going to have eight more people you could. So I said it's like it doesn't make any sense. That shows story that, in my opinion, if it would not work for an RPG game where you're expected to like level up unless you just want to play as two people. No, I don't even know where they're going to take this thing. I think Kakarot might be a one off. Which I mean, hey, not every game can be a franchise or a series. It's just really sad because it had a lot of stuff going for it that most of the games that came out around it did not. Like a open world environment where you can fly wherever you want, all these different side quests that feature like the world and the lore and etc. And it's so lame that I don't know. It's a real travesty that game is what it is. Like I still would say I had fun playing it for a majority of it because I do like the actual combat system. But it's the worst of the three of these, and it's the only one that I can't see myself just picking up and playing again. Like I don't know. It's just it has such like little replay value. And even with the free roam environment, it's like you fly around, you beat up some random enemies, then you have to do the story mode thing again. It's just lame, man. No, I'm not excited for the Frieza portion of this stuff. I already know how it's gonna go. They did surprise me by how little you played as Goku. It's like so I'll think, okay, well, they're gonna have me play as him to fight Raditz, and then there's gonna be like a part where he's training. It's like, no training at all. He just shows back up and he's now um 13, 14 levels stronger, really? Okay, whatever. So that's how the game knows that it's not that great. Because why else would it feel the need to level up him that much off screen? You know what I mean? Like what it knows that if you go out and have to fight these random enemies to try and play catch up to everybody else, you'll be sitting out there battling them all day in real life because how hard it is to get enemies to come up and fight you. No, I'm not even shocked or anything. That game knows it's not great. That's why it had to level up your characters while you weren't playing as. It's like, yeah, we know it's gonna take him forever to get. That's a really sad feature. And like I said, the actual combat I think is good. Like you fire your key blast with one button, you go up and you punch with the other. It has this kind of like glide rails feature. I don't really. I'm kind of like more mixed on, but it's pretty similar to Xenoverse. If I'm if I'm telling the truth. It's like it's that same kind of like lock-on thing going on. Although I do think Xenoverse just has more, again, more options, like being able to customize character, use different abilities with. I already mentioned this earlier. But with Kakarot, it's so irritating because the combat I enjoy. Like when I was fighting Vegeta, I like that you're able to, keep you press the space bar, you can dodge it. He's about to fire some big blast. You keep trying to get away from that. It had me on my toes. And it's so lame that a majority of this game is fighting enemies who don't give you enough experience to even make a dent in your what do you call it? Being able to level up, your bar to the next level, and a system where where realistically you could just be flying in the air and see like 10 of them, and then you fight one, and then the other 9 are gone. Yeah, this game is a real disappointment. It's I don't think it's bad. Like I think it's competently made, but it's a bare minimum experience. It is the equivalent of telling somebody, hey, do as tiny of a requirement as you need to make a Dragon Ball RPG, and they did it, and it wasn't wasn't to the liking of certain people who think they could have done more. I'll put it that way. I don't even want to imagine like playing through that whole thing. I can't wait to beat the game so I can fly around and fight random enemies to level up my characters so I can play the first DLC, which doesn't even let me play as the majority of the people that I have in this already bare bones roster game. And that's what I think is crazy. It's like you have a game that has basically 5 playable characters. Even though I would say it's probably just 4 because you don't play as Trunks that much. But it's like you have a roster that's not that big, and then you do DLC for it, and then the DLC will let you play as one person or 2 people. Not even half of what you have. Like that's weird. And somebody could say, "Oh, well, they're trying to follow the story of a Battle of Gods." It's like, no. My point is, they should have changed. Like, how to explain? Look, a movie is whatever. They're trying to do something entertaining. When you're making a game and you have mechanics that are built into your game, you have to be able to create situations and scenarios that are tailor-made for a playing experience. I'm saying that as a player, it's very off-putting to know that if you get the DLC for this game, you won't even be using your own like characters. They're not even going to be some that you're going to be invested in at all. It's like, yeah, the story of Super was not invested in them. Well, at least until recently with Superhero, but it's like that shouldn't deter you from being able to, you know, still play as them is what I'm getting at. I think they should have changed or done some type of modifications to the story of the DLCs, from the movies, whatever, to have like Gohan and Piccolo have bigger roles, because it's like you're gonna level them up as much as Goku and Vegeta, and then once you get the super stuff, which is all just Goku and Vegeta, they're just left in the dust until we inevitably get the superhero DLC and they finally catch up by getting a 50 level hand job off screen. Yeah, it's just weird, man. That game's combat system is it's the best part of it. This one guy said that the one thing this game had going for it was that it gives you the experience of being in and I didn't know what he was talking about. And sure enough, he couldn't explain it. But I really think if you want to play an RPG, one where you actually can level up your characters as much as you want. For the most part, there's obviously like certain minimum level requirements, but if you want to play one where you can just level up and not be like hindered by something, I would just go play Legacy of Goku 2 or 3. Like this game is It looks nice. It's got really good visuals. It's a very pretty looking game, but that just doesn't cut it for me. I'm the kind of person who I could play a game that has Game Boy Color sprites, and as long as it's fun to play, I don't really mind. You know, I just think it's so sad that this stuff is turned out the way it has. And I really don't know what they can do to fix this because I don't know. It's like I thought originally when they put out the Battle of Gods DLC and then they put out the Resurrection F1, I was like, okay, well, then they're gonna do um like Universe 6 arc, and then oh no, they're gonna do History of Trunks. Like, okay, then they're gonna do the Universe 6 arc. Oh no, they're gonna do Bardock. So I don't know, just everything that it looks like they're gonna do. And even if they do Universe 6, it's like, so you're gonna train Piccolo to be strong as well, so he can have one fight and that he gets cheated out of, but you have to beat anyway, and then fight the same person with Vegeta. I don't know, just it's just so I said Super Story really does not work for if they're trying to do a continuation of this with that show. I don't think it'll work. And I'm not even saying that as a fan of the show. I'm saying that as someone who is like looking at the way the game has set itself up, and if they're trying to adapt the story of that series, it's going to be really difficult to do that with only two people even being regularly important in that story or in that portion of the series, whatever you want to call it. So yeah, good luck to them. Like I said, they had a real chance with Determine the Power if they want to adapt that. But I still wouldn't even know how that would work. Are they going to suddenly make 6 more people playable? And then it's like if they I don't know, it's like either way it's weird. Like if they have just the same 4 playable, it's weird. And I could totally see them doing that because they're just gonna have you play as Goku and then have support Frieza and 17 against Jiren. Um, and then if they make it to where some of them are playable, like let's say they have you able to play as 17, you're gonna have people like, well, why can't you play as 18? So and then if they have everyone playable, it's gonna be really weird as well. Because it's like, why weren't they playable before? Like I said, if this game was really serious about like having a RPG experience where you can just do what you like and have who you want, I'd say the best story they could probably adapt is probably like the one from Fighters. Like it's that same story, but it's again you're playing it on Kakarot instead. Because at least with that story, you can play as who you like, and it's like tailor made for every major character to be involved in some capacity. So I'd say that's probably the best one they can do. Of course, they're not going to do it though. They're gonna let's say they did the Bardock special, another Saiyan, Trunks, another Saiyan. We're probably hell, we might end up getting something from. They're gonna give us a Broly special. Oh, I already know that's coming. They are obsessed with Saiyans. Like you can't play as anybody. That's not except for one person, I should say. Just Saiyans, 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 Saiyans with a dash of Namekian. God, that is terrible. No, I avoided even discussing it until I felt like I played it enough to have like a sense of it. Like I'm still mostly not even talking about fighters because I really did only do a little bit of the a little tiny portion of the story mode. But even with that, it's like that game still was fun to me for the bits I played of it. I just have to get more used to the button configuration. Um, a lot of this other stuff is just the same old, like it's just generic. Like everyone has played through the story of Z. Everybody knows the story of Z. It's been in over 100 games at this point, probably. So if you're gonna do an RPG of that story, why not make it different? Why not have it to where you can beat Vegeta as Yamcha? Why not have it to where you can beat Frieza as Piccolo? Like I don't get why. And then it's like this game. Um, I mean, like let's. I'm just putting it like this: if they made all the humans playable, it would have like what 8 characters playable. But yeah, it's like I don't understand why they don't try to be more creative and have all like what if scenarios. And I know a good example would probably be something like Marvel. What was it, Ultimate Alliance 2, where in the first one you had this like core lineup that the game, like, what's a good way of putting it? It had a core little group of 4 that you would see in all the cutscenes and whatnot. And for the second one, it has these cutscenes that are generated by your choices. Like the team you pick is the team that appears in them and is like talking to the different allies and enemies and whatnot. And I just really wish that that feature was something that this game had, where you beat someone as whoever you want. Maybe it's harder, who knows, who cares? The point is you get to control who you want to. I just hate that like there's so much pigeonholing. Because even though I think this game isn't like amazing or great or anything, I wouldn't mind having the same developers make a Naruto game. In fact, I'd actually be more excited at the prospect of them doing a series like that, because I don't think people would actually be that upset if it's only like, oh, you can only play as Naruto or Team Seven. It's not it like that. That's just more understood to have a basic group that you'll be playing as. Sorry about that. We were experiencing some interruptions, but like I said, if they did a Naruto game, this same company, I'd be way more excited, because with a story like that, people probably wouldn't be as upset if there's only 3 people playable, 4 people playable. That would be my guess. And I think Naruto as a series lends itself more to this type of format, where you can like you wouldn't be able to fly around, but like you can run around in the Leaf Village and do different assignments and whatnot. Uh Again, that's just food for thought. Man, now I'm really imagining it like that being a thing, like a Naruto game with the same play style. And wow. I probably would have a much higher opinion of it, because I don't I can't recall, and I'm not as familiar with Naruto games. I can't recall an RPG Naruto game. Maybe there is one, I just haven't played it or I'm not familiar with it, but I don't know. So what I'm getting at is, there I wouldn't immediately have the same like comparisons where I'm like, oh, this older game did it better, because as far as I can tell, every major Naruto game is just fighting, which I think after a while gets kind of redundant, but whatever. Every game is just 2 people in an arena punching each other. Just my opinion with it. Feel free to disagree. No, once I finish Kakarot, I think that's it. I'm not playing that again. Because at least with fighters, it has the versus mode and other features. Plus, it's just a okay fighting game to me. It's good. Um, but in the case of Kakarot, it's a very limited thing that I really, and I feel like it certifies itself as being limited, and when you consider there's no online mode. which I guess makes sense. I mean, considering how tiny the game's roster is, I wouldn't be surprised if it's just like 100 Gokus fighting each other. God. Yeah, Xenoverse 2 is my favorite one. Um, Again, a lot of it has to do with the choices that are made. Plus, I just think it's even though I would say it has a similar play style to Kakarot, it's more enjoyable for what choices you can make. And it's not even just like, oh, you can play as whoever you want, bigger roster, but like when you fight somebody, you can press certain buttons that will activate your different key attacks that you have equipped. Whereas with Kakarot, from what I've seen, I know that later on you can transform, whatever, but like a lot of it is just shoot, 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 punch, 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 dodge, dodge, dodge. I don't know. To me, it feels like it has more going for it, both in terms of combat, even if they are similar, and definitely in terms of content. These Universe Two blows Kakarot out the water. Kakarot is like maybe 10% compared to Xenoverse's 100%. It's that game has way more stuff to do. Oh, once you beat a story part, you can free roam. I was like, well, I guess it's cool to just run around and fly around, but I want to just play the game and like actually, like I said, the free roam parts are irritating because it takes too long to fight to like find multiple enemies just battle back to back, which artificially inflates the length of the game. So even with that portion, I'm not excited. And it's false advertising too, because you can't free roam when half of your roster is either deceased or incapacitated. Like if you try to free roam after the Vegeta fight, you can't do that as Piccolo for obvious reasons. So I said this stuff is so irritating. Just so much potential just thrown out. And that's something I realize a lot of games, a lot of people, they have this ability to do things that are greater good and they don't. And I think I gave fair criticisms of it. It's something I'm gonna play again just to beat, but I can't really say if I recommend it or not. I don't know. I guess it's like this. Xenoverse, the first one came out in 2015, and there's always this belief that as time passes, you're going to get games with more and more and more stuff to do because technology is improving, advancing, being able to hold more stuff, all this hardware. And Kakarot feels like a game that came out 10 years ago. Like it feels like something that looked was like really well appreciated for being fun or for being, like on a console and looking nice or whatever. But as far as actual content and being this full enriching experience where you can truly develop your own encounters and what it's very hollow. It's it's a game that I couldn't recommend it to anybody else. I really I as and then maybe I'll change my mind when I finish it, but as things currently stand, it's just something that I'm playing because it was discounted, and I would rather pay 15 for it than 60. So it's sad that the stuff has turned out the way it is because I don't like to come on here and just trash other games, but like, and I'm not trashing it. I've stated multiple things I like about it, but I just can't recommend it. And that saddens me because I like to like I fully tell people to embrace Six Universe too. My brother came over on Saturday and was playing Xenoverse 2. Got to make his own character and everything. He was having a blast. Um, so it's really only with my with Kakarot where it's just like, yeah, don't even bother. And he wanted to play fighters as well. That was Kakarot was the only one where he was like, whatever. And that should tell you something. But speaking of whatever, since nobody's saying anything, I have, I guess, mute people that watch me. I'm gonna end the stream. I'm gonna go get something to eat. I just wanted to try and come on and make an attempt to do one that was at least a respectable length after the Saturday interruption. That's kind of funny how like when Saturday, when the thing on Saturday happens, nobody's here. Or excuse me, on Saturday when the internet acts like trash, everybody's here, and then on Monday when the internet's acting good, nobody's here. That's really crazy. I don't know what the deal is with people on here. They just pick and choose when to come. Wakatsuki Merchant, I warned you not to sit over there drinking all that ravioli because it makes you drowsy and stay in and sleep later than usual. And you know what time we usually stream, so you have no excuse. This person asked me if I was going to do a playthrough of Kakarot. I said, I don't like no, because I really don't want to play that game again. Like that Vegeta fight had my arm hurting. It was just this. No, I'm not playing that again. The crazy thing is, Xenoverse 2, even if it has the same play style, I don't remember like actually having an appendage hurting from having to like keep clicking some button or moving around or whatever. Like I don't know. It's like they both play similarly, but one is much more frustrating than the other. It's like, oh, they play similar, but one of them's gonna have you break your arm, and the other one is like whatever. Now I could play through Xenoverse 2 again because that's you get to play a different character, whatever, spice up the experience. But I don't want to play through Kakarot a second time because that game is really it is a one and done. God, that thing is just that game could have been so cool and they ruined it. Man, that's terrible. Yeah, when's the Tournament of Power DLC coming? The one we're probably most likely to get is going to be it's either going to be the Universe 6 arc or the Future Trunks arc because these game makers, they love Future Trunks. That one realistically could come to pass because you'll just play as the Saiyans versus Black and Zamasu, and it's got like 3 different fights. I could totally see that as a DLC because it's got like a little short roster of people you can already play as. Oh, don't start with that, man. You already don't like anybody else. I mean, whether you like him or dislike him, he is one of the most iconic characters in the series. And definitely is the most iconic Saiyan that's not Goku, Vegeta, or Gohan. Like, I mean, it's not even. But yeah, I've seen people say Gohan is overrated. Like, go on the Kensenshu forum; they complain about him all the time on there. Goku is overrated. Vegeta is overrated. Piccolo is overrated. Frieza is overrated. Cell is overrated. I mean, we can just go down the list. Anytime somebody likes something, it's overrated. I went on that forum. They said Budokai 3 was overrated. Tenkaichi 3 was overrated. Raging Blast 2 was overrated. Fighters was overrated. Exuniverse was overrated. I'm so sick of that damn word. They do every time somebody likes something that somebody else doesn't or doesn't like as much, it's overrated. Naruto is overrated. Like I just had me rolling my eyes. Like literally, go on Kensenshu, and they have a whole thread of people just talking about Gohan being overrated, Goku being overrated. They should have retired him after Cell. Like it's just, it's not even that word means nothing anymore. Anytime there's a character that some you either don't like as much as some, just like I don't like Vegeta anywhere near as much as other people do. I wouldn't call him overrated just because I don't feel like arguing back and forth with them. I think he has really good character development throughout Z, except when you get to the Boo saga, where a lot of it happens off screen, and then now he's gone from being a complete jerk or a jerk that's not as murderous as the main villains of the Frieza and Cell sagas to now being a good guy. But I don't even bother calling him that because I just don't I don't feel like getting into a a pissing contest with these people. Hell, for a long time I thought Fighters was overrated because people would sit here and talk about it being the best Dragon Ball game ever, and oh my god, what it sold 8 million copies. Like, guys, everything with Dragon Ball's name on it sells good. Legacy of Goku is a glitchy, terrible, hard game, and it still sold well because of what the title is. Nowadays, what they do argue about is whether or not Goku could solo. Yeah, I don't get on that power scaling versus crap. It's not even worth discussing. But no, I don't have a problem with Future Trunks. I like them well enough in the Cell Saga. I just kind of I'm more upset with the portrayal of him in Super, because it's like you bring this character back, you ruin his happy ending, and then you don't like you completely destroy his whole life. Gets his timeline erased, his mother dies, all this other I thought it was bad. That ending for that arc is one of the worst endings to any story I've ever seen in any medium. That it was just trash. So I like the character of Future Trunks. And I like him in Z. I do not like the Future Trunks arc in Super. You can throw that thing in the garbage as far as I'm concerned. It's a worthless conversation because it can easily shut down by Toriyama making Goku weak if he wanted to. Like I said, if it, I don't even get caught up in that stuff because the writers determine who's strong and who's not. Like if Toriyama wanted to, he could have Goku fight Yamcha, and then Yamcha uses the Spirit Ball, and then Goku's just sitting there getting hit over and over by it and defeated that way. Like it's really it's what I said. Power scaling, power levels. It's all just stupid stuff that people do to get a bunch of views, and it is one of the most worthless conversations to me out of any thing involved in this series. Like the obsession with power levels and transformations and all this stupid stuff about pandering to nostalgia anytime you want to use a character that's been introduced before 2013. I just roll my eyes because it's all garbage. No, even with like characters I don't like, I don't say they're overrated. Like I really hate Sasuke from Naruto. I even said he's the worst fictional character ever created. But I still um I wouldn't call him overrated because even though he's popular in Japan, there are a lot of fans in the US that do not like him. That I've spoken to online, seen post videos about him. He's just a really garbage character that gets way too much importance to the story of Naruto, and then gets like this and is in one of the worst pairings I've ever seen of any fictional couple. Um just bad from start to finish. Hell, one of the reasons I didn't want to watch Shippuden again is I didn't want to see him. It's like give me some Naruto content that doesn't have a minute. I like that series the most when he's like the least involved. But again, like I don't like that character, but I still wouldn't call him that because he is um despised by a lot of American fans. Because in Japan they have this thing about how honorable it is to avenge your family. Like I guess the different cultural values. But he is awful. Just terrible, man. I'm telling you, Naruto would have been so much better if after part one and like the ultimate subversion, they just got rid of like we just never saw Sasuke again. And it was like Gara and Lee and Neji and all these other people that Naruto had like rivalries with. That would have been way cooler than Sasuke. I just was like, God, man, that was the worst. He's my best friend, even though we hated each other, and then even after we were okay with each other, we didn't hang out at all. But he's my best friend, dude. That's what I always thought was so funny about part one. It's like watching that from start to finish, and you remember that like Sasuke leaves the basically after the tuning exams, which is like around episode 40 something out of the 130 something. He's really not that involved with the story anymore. Um, and then except for like a couple of brief intervals where he like fights, Gara and like fights his brother or whatever. But like you when you get to the end of part one, it's like we're close friends and I care. It's like when did this happen? You had one mission together where you didn't where he like tried to sacrifice himself for you, whatever, and now you're like you didn't even talk to him. It's just weird. Megumi says, "Damn, you really don't like Sasuke." Then again, I stand firm on this as well, and I haven't even seen the show fully. Like I said, part one for me really picks up after he leaves. When they're talking about other characters and Naruto's relationship with them, I like it a lot more than when he's around. He's one of I believe he is the worst fictional character ever made. Because even if you could find a more annoying character in a movie or a show, you don't have to sit through them for no 300, 400, 500 damn episodes. I've also discussed Naruto one with some others, and Sasuke usually is called a baby and a really bad character. He's terrible. Just awful. And every other character is better. His brother is better. His teammates are better. All the other Leaf Ninja are better. Like no, like just so much focus to a complete dumpster fire of a protagonist. He's my best friend, even though he tried to kill me on several occasions, tried to attack the Kages at the summit, making him a terrorist. But don't worry, he's totally a good person. Yeah, it was just bad. Like he's the reason I will always like Naruto significantly less than Dragon Ball. Because a lot of people compare him to Vegeta, because like that's who he's like modeled off or based off of with like the color of his outfit or whatever. Vegeta's a way better character. I mean, even if Super regresses him, in Z he actually has like a character arc that goes full circle, and like doesn't just keep like even when he turns Majin, for example, he still like atones for his sins and doesn't do anything evil after that. It's like Sasuke is just he just takes up so much focus in the story, and all he does is just act as this antagonistic force and then become a good guy out of nowhere toward the end after doing another final evil act of cut. Like it's just trash, man. No way, Vegeta's a lot better, and I've never been a fan of Vegeta either. I mean, I like Vegeta not as much as other fans of Dragon. Like I said, my three favorites are Gohan, Piccolo, and Krillin. But like the point I'm getting at is Vegeta at least has a full character arc from start to finish of that series that doesn't regress or repent. You know what I'm talking about. Like the Sasuke stuff just zigzags back and forth, and he turns to this total focus for like most of the series. I just get sick of him. The fact that he thought he could fight the Kages at the summit makes him the dumbest character ever. Oh, not to mention he has the biggest plot armor out of anybody. Like, survive getting all these damn pin needles put in you by Haku, and then survive getting blown up by Deidara. So I said, I just when Kishimoto loves somebody, he lets them survive anything. And then Madara did something to him. I forgot what it was, though. I guess I'd have to go and reread it. Oh, Megumi in Xuniverse 2, they put GT Vegeta in their regular GT Vegeta. And I was really surprised because everybody was talking about, oh, the next DLC is going to be Dispo from Super. So I was like, they put regular. I really don't think there's ever been a Dragon Ball fighting game that just has normal GT Vegeta in it. Like, other ones have had Super Saiyan 4 Vegeta, but just normal base form GT Vegeta. I was surprised. It's like, wow. I said if they could just put GT Goten in there and then like have GT Gohan as a costume for Adult Gohan, we'd have like the whole group of fighters from GT. That would be really cool. He also gets stabbed by like 7 swords from Killer B and just tanked it. That's how you know the plot was protecting him. Man, he has more plot armor in Naruto than Naruto does. God, that character is just trash, man. In every conceivable way. And I really think that there's like, I guess what drives me crazy is he's supposed to be Naruto's rival, but they have so many other interesting rivals for, like, Kishimoto's able to make all these other characters that are rivals for him. And then in part 2, if he does anything with them, it's like off screen. Like with Neji, he has him become a Jonin, right? Between being a Genin in part 1 and like going up by 2. But we don't see how that happened because Kishimoto doesn't care about him anymore. You have Gaara become the leader of his village, right? Go from being this hated, despised, scary figure to now the respected young Kage of his village. Like, that's a story worth telling about this complete shift in his personality. And it's entirely off screen. I know. I brought it up. Well, I didn't know you didn't like his base form, but I just brought it up because I've never seen any of the games put his base form in there before. Like in Budokai Tenkaichi 3, they have baby Vegeta wearing Vegeta's like it's regular Vegeta just with the gray hair. I was like, why didn't they make that a costume for Vegeta in that game? I don't know. I just thought it was weird. Like, they have a model of GT Vegeta, and they could just all they have to do is just change the hair color, and they're like, nope. I want one of these games to put Rildo in there. He hasn't been in anything, or some of the other Shadow Dragons that aren't Sin or Omega. What was it? Sin Omega / Omega Shenron or Nova Shenron. We're never going to get a game that has all of them in there. I loved Gaara's character development, and even if most of it was off screen. No, I like it too. I wish it was on screen. That's my point. That, like, and you remember, the Naruto is the flashback king. That series has a whole bunch of this happened during the time skip. This happened 10 years ago. This happened 30 years ago. And they never show any of it to us, as far as I remember. I read the whole manga. Maybe there was some filler stuff in the show, but as far as I can tell in the manga, there's nothing. I know that Super Saiyan, you can play as Vegeta in his not base form, in his Super Saiyan form in what was it, Dragon Ball G, what was it, GT Transformations after you beat the game. But like in fighting games, I've never seen base GT Vegeta playable before. It's always just Super Saiyan 4 Vegeta. That's why it's surprising. It's like, what? They picked him? That was shocking. I was saying I really hope they do Rildo and GT Goten because we've never had adult Goten playable in any game outside of Heroes, that old crap from Japan, that card game. Everybody's playable in that crap. Dude, poor Neji. Like seriously, Killer Bee whooped Sasuke's behind and still lost because Sasuke has the most bullcrap plot armor ability in the show. Yeah, like I said, I really I don't understand the appeal of this character. He's just all he does is take away from other interesting stuff. Now I remember Wildo because he leads into Baby. Like I said, even if I'm not a fan of the show, I still want it to have some representation in games. Like all the major antagonists. The game already has GT Goku, Pan, GT Trunks, Majub, and now base Vegeta, and then like the Super Saiyan 4 forms. Um, I think Ledric is in Heroes, and that's about it. We haven't seen him in anything either. No, but I like Rildo's design where it's like the blue face and the yellow. Yeah, like I like the look of him. So I want him to be in more stuff. Dude, and you know the reason I was happy they put GT Vegeta in there is because in Xuniverse they often have parallel quests where you get to either help the villain or help the good guys. It would be so cool if you have to help Super 17 beat like Majub and Vegeta and Gohan and Goten, just like in the show when when they're like all holding out until Goku shows up. Or if you have to help Omega Shenron fight GT, Goku, Vegeta, Majub, Trunks, and Gohan. So again, I like it when this stuff has representation in the games. No, you won't see me complain if they add more stuff. You see what else did Akatsuki Merchant write? Um, yeah, just so much plot armor for this character. And you know the sad thing is, you don't have to have plot armor if you have a character who you don't want to have win a fight. They don't have to die. They can just use some jutsu to disappear, to get away. So he didn't have to win. But Kishimoto was sucking him off, right? Oh, Sasuke, Sasuke. So he made sure that was there. I am the same when it comes to other series I'm into. Makes the game more enjoyable and immersive, in my opinion. Yeah, I'm all for having more GT stuff in there. Like I favor them putting the rest of Shadow Dragons in, even though I don't think they will because they just seem to be like really slow when it comes to stuff. Like you might get one more, two more, because the way they do DLC is they put Majub with 21 who's from Fighters. So if you get another character, it's going to be like one by themselves. Kishimoto really did be dirty with that fight. Here we had a ninja who had a unique skill set, and they got overshadowed because look at how cool the Sharingan is. No, it would be so cool if they had like where you could play the baby fight where it's like you and Goku versus Baby and Gohan and Goten and Trunks and what was it, Bra? And they're all like powering him up. So once you take down the four of them, after he comes out, or before he comes out, he gets like stronger because they keep like adding to him because they only have Baby's final form in there, but if they added the other two, that'd be cool, or at least the first one because they like to skip forms in Xuniverse. Like I have to keep reminding myself of this. Like we have Boo, like regular Super Boo, and we have Goten, not Goten, Gohan absorbed Super Boo but we don't have Gotenks absorb, which was my favorite one because I like the vest. By the way, speaking of the not Shadow Dragon, the Super 17 stuff, how cool would it have been if Babidi saw Oob and he was like, you seem familiar to me, and it's like a reference to the whole, him being a reincarnation of Boo thing. So I said that arc had so many character interactions that would have been so good, and we just didn't get any of it. Like they revealed that 19 was like in hell, even though he was a robot, and we didn't get to see him fight any of the other androids. We could have had 19 versus 18. The absorbent android versus the one with unlimited energy. So I might do a whole video just rewriting that arc. Because there's so much stuff they could have done with character interactions that they didn't. It's and you don't even have to think hard to just be like, hey, this would have been cool. Like, remember they have the sequence where Goku goes to hell and he sees Frieza and Cell? They could have had Gohan go with him and be like, hey, I'm looking for my dad. Cell, you again, because he fought, both Cell and Frieza. So, he could have fought Cell, and they could either be evenly matched because Gohan hasn't trained much since he stopped. Actually, you know what? Instead of having Frieza and Cell get defeated by like being turned to frost or whatever, they could have just had Gohan fighting Cell, and that could be the reason why he's not there to fight Super 17. Because you remember, Gohan never met 17. He 17 got absorbed by the time that Gohan met Cell, so they could have definitely had that. Exactly. I always thought Gohan wasn't used much in GT. Such a shame. Dude, the only time GT focuses on Gohan is when Baby possesses him, which is only for like one episode until he gets Vegeta, and when Piccolo dies. Like, other than that, he's just a bit character. Because they even have him fight Rildo, and the fight's not even 2 minutes long. I was like, damn it, they have so much they could. That's why I said that with that arc, they need to just like with the Shadow Dragon stuff. Nova Shenron in Exuniverse, when you put him against Gohan, he's like, to think, there used to be a time where I was lying on your head. They could have had him fight Nova Shenron. Him and Goku, because remember Gohan and Goku both like have symbolic value with the 4-star ball, where it used to be on Gohan's head. And Goku's like it has as a keepsake for his grandpa. That would have been so cool. Father and son fighting the Dragon Ball that they both cherished as kids against the one dragon that's actually honorable. Hell, they could have thrown Piccolo in there too, because Piccolo was the reason that wish even happened. The King Piccolo, when he made the wish to be young. That would have been a hell of an interaction. Dude, I really did forget when I had what happened is that in Exuniverse with some of the parallel quests, they have hidden enemies. They don't tell you you're going to be there. So I was just using Kid Gohan against Nova. Like, Nova just appeared in the mission, and I was like, oh damn, that would have been such a great. Like, I realized they didn't even meet each other. Like I said, the baby arc, solid. I give it an 8 or 9 out of 10 easily. The only thing I would change is I would have some baby possess somebody else, because I didn't like seeing Vegeta as a bad guy for the 3rd time. But what I'm conveying to you is that there's a lot of interactions and like little character stuff that could have been in GT that they were like, whatever. No, that would have been so cool to have to have Piccolo versus Super 17 and then have Gohan versus Cell. And like they're like both sides are evenly matched, and then until like 18 shows up and helps Piccolo defeat Super 17. I also like the idea of Goku being turned to a kid again and power level being effectively annexed. It made his attainment of Super Saiyan 4 much more satisfying. Dude, the people that say GT is back because Goku's a kid are idiots. Like, there's All the problems I have with that show are about character interactions and characters not being used that much, and certain stuff being shorter than it should be, or I think it should be. So that's just a dumb thing that if people have a problem with that, I don't understand them at all. It's that is a non-entity to me. Instead, we have Krillin die again. Yeah. And it's like, dude, instead of having him die, they could have had him have a rematch with Tambourine. Well, you can like a show. Well, I already told you, dude. You can like or love something and still have like stuff. Just like I love Dragon Ball Z, but the Buu saga, I'll freely admit, could have been handled much better if it was supposed to be the final arc ever. So you can like something and then still criticize it or admit, yeah, they could have done this. That would have been cool. Just like with the Cell Saga, instead of having Gohan go Super Saiyan 2 because they kill an android that he barely knew, I would have him go Super Saiyan 2 because Krillin and Piccolo are getting beat up because we've actually seen them spend time with them. I like the idea of the protagonists earning their power through determination and willpower rather than being handed to them by the plot. The show does have its flaws, things that could have been improved upon, of course. Well, like I said, the reason I like the baby arc is even though it has like some similar issues to me of like characters not being used much as they should have been, in my opinion, is it has this really tight story that, from what I can tell, had a direction. Like the whole thing of them encountering Baby from Rildo and then Baby coming back to Earth before they get there and then taking it over while they're still doing their thing. All of it just like ties together. It just feels very neat. Like you can tell the writers knew where they were going, what they were doing, how they were going to introduce Super Saiyan 4, which they had been foreshadowing since the show started. It's all of it just feels very what's the way of putting it? It feels clean. Like it feels like there's some straight direction of where things are going to go. But when you get to Super 17 and the Shadow Dragons, I just I don't know, just because, and we know for a fact that those two arcs were made after Baby was supposed to be the ending. So I don't know, it just feels like they didn't have as much direction with either of those in my view. I felt like the Baby arc ended way too abruptly. I mean, you can feel that way if you want to. I forgot how long it is, but I was fine with its pacing. Really, I was just irritated that Vegeta was like out of the arc for the whole thing, thanks to being possessed. Because like what bothers me is that he's the prince of all Saiyans. You got a villain who hates Saiyans, and maybe the writers thought, oh, it's like dramatic irony for the prince to be the one like to be taken over by the person. But I really think that would have been really cool to see, like Vegeta, regular Vegeta versus either Baby Gohan, Baby Trunks. Like imagine the parasite that's angry at Vegeta and the rest of the Saiyans for like killing his race, taking over his son. Like your seed is now mine. Like that kind of thing. So I'm just saying that's really the only part of it that I would change or do differently. Then I was just thinking, imagine if they brought back Future Trunks for the Baby arc, and it's like it's Baby Trunks that's the main villain. It's like, so it's good Trunks versus bad Trunks. It actually would have been a lot more I think resonant if Trunks was the one that was like the ultimate host, because he's the first one that Baby possesses, and we spend more time with him in GT at that point than we do with Vegeta. So I don't know. But then I guess the other part of it is, since you have Trunks like in space with them, it doesn't make sense for like I can see where it goes either way. Either way, I think it should have been either Trunks or Gohan, like somebody that's not, because we've already seen Vegeta as a bad guy twice. I don't know, just my opinion, whatever. I don't want any more Vegeta as a villain arcs. I'm tired of that. It would have been much more impactful if Baby possessed Trunks and turned him against Vegeta. It would have set up some interesting character dialogue. The reason I preferred if it was Gohan was because like GT mainly focuses on Goku, and wouldn't it be ironic to have the kid who was supposed to protect Earth be possessed by the parasite that wants to take it over? Plus, it would impact both Goku and Pan, like his son, her dad, as the villain. I'm just saying. And you know what? It would have made Piccolo getting killed, like choosing to die because of the Black Star wish, even more impactful. Because Gohan could be like, "Oh my God, what have I done?" Piccolo's like, "No, you didn't do it. What you weren't you. You were possessed." So I just think I would prefer if it was Gohan. Dude, that would have been so sad. Like that ending would have been really, really sad if Piccolo dies from the wish that Gohan made while he was possessed. What I would have liked a bit more is the Gogeta fusion. It was incredibly short. Well, I've had that problem with fusion since they were introduced. They're just there to like waste time and not actually get the job done. Like we can't just have Gogeta take out Omega Shenron. All right, show's over. No, we have to have the fusion fail just like it did against Boo. Uh, so we can have another Spirit Bomb. That's how every villain gets defeated. It's either Super Saiyan or Spirit Bomb. The same power up and move over and over. Dude, I swear that's not even a GT problem. That's just a fusion issue. Like I'm not joking. Almost every arc or everything that has fusion in it, except a movie, it never can get the job done. Like Gotenks versus Super Boo. Oh my god, cool, funny fight. Oh, but of course we can't have Gotenks kill Super Boo because we can't have the villain get taken out by a fusion ever. So it doesn't work. And then Gotenks' ultimate role is to get absorbed and then make it hard for Gohan to fight Super Boo. Then with look at Vegito. Oh my god, funny fight. Vegito's whooping Super Boo like there's no tomorrow. Oh, he fails because he wants to go save his friends. Then the fusion conveniently diffuses, even though it's supposed to be permanent. Oh, they can turn Vegeta they can be Vegito and destroy Kid Buu. Oh, let's not do that because we're Saiyans. We want to make everything harder for ourselves, even if it means possibly letting the whole solar system get destroyed. They went Super Saiyan 4 against Omega Shenron after he was beating them both up at Super Saiyan 4s. Now they're going to destroy him. Oh, nope, it doesn't work. Like, even in Super, it's the same thing. Super Saiyan Super Saiyan Vegito comes out against Zamasu, Merge Zamasu. Oh my god, he's going to beat him in the arcs. Nope. Dude, I just want, I'm sick of fusions. I don't, that's why I don't even talk about them anymore. They're just, every time they show up, they're just there to waste time. Because the writers believe that you can't have a major final villain of an arc be defeated easily. So they have to always make sure that the fusion fails. Dude, you're more likely to see TN beat a main villain than you are to see a fusion beat one of them. My problem with fusion is that it doesn't introduce anything new to the world of Dragon Ball. It's just another power up and a marketing ploy to sell toys. So I said, man, like the only time Fusion actually got the job done was what was it? What's that movie? Fusion Reborn, yeah, with Janemba. And even there, it's really brief. It just shows up all the way at the end. No, I'm not the biggest fan of Fusion. I get kind of sick of it because all the fusions have this. They all have the same personality. They all have, and like I'm not even joking. Gogeta, Gotenks, and Vegito all act the same. They all have like, oh, I'm so much better than you. I am neither Goku nor Vegeta, and it just gets generic after a while. So yeah, I'm really tired of them. No, you can have it. Yeah, but aren't fusions supposed to be really powerful though? It feels so artificial when it just abruptly fails to get the job done. It's just very weird. That's my point, that the writers, every time they use it, they have no intention of having it be the thing that actually defeats the villain. So it's basically just what's the way of putting it? It's like canonical filler. It's this thing that's just there to make the arc artificially longer and to add a little bit of tension, because if they don't do this before the 10 minutes run out, the whole world will be destroyed. And then it always fails, except when it's a movie. No, fusions are just filler. Every last one of them. Damn, I'm really kicking myself about that arc. Like I'm just imagining 18 and Piccolo versus Super 17, Gohan versus Cell. I guess you could have Goku fight. I'm not gonna. No, I'm not gonna have Goku fight Frieza again. Already been done. Um, what? Who could you pair up against Frieza? I'm trying to think. Yeah, I'll think about that later. But like that, man, there are so many matchups that would have been so cool. I gotta just sit back and write all of them down because I have to remember like which villains were actually like used in there. Oh, you know what? Imagine wait, no, because that's like filler stuff. Never mind. It would have been interesting if Vegito acted more like a Regal Saiyan Prince, since he's supposed to be more like Vegeta. Yeah, but they all act the same. Like seriously, one person even said with fighters, they should have just made Vegito a skin for Gogeta, because there's no difference. They have the same personality, same voice, even like just. That's why I said, man, these fusions are just you know what I mean, right? Like a skin on top of like a costume. I don't think they're wrong, because the only difference would be like when Vegito says his name and it's Gogeta talking, or what I'm talking about, where they can't change the dialogue. But I don't think they're wrong for thinking that should have been especially in a game where you have like a really tiny roster anyway. Like I would have preferred Super Buu over Gogeta, if I'm telling the truth. I'm still mad that game. Like we have Baby and Super Saiyan 4 Gogeta, but not Super Saiyan 4 Goku. Like if there was one Goku to give us from like any Goku to get from that series, it should have been Super Saiyan 4 Goku. Yeah, I know, it's just hilarious because their personalities are so identical. So it's better to just have the skins of the fusion. They are the same character with a different name and a different look. Just like if you really think about it, Gotenks is pretty much just a powered up version of Trunks. He doesn't act like Goten. Hey, imagine Gotenks versus the Ginyu Force with all the poses and the gag stuff. Another fight we could have seen, because the Ginyu Force were shown in that arc. Man, I need to just sit back and just start writing some notes. Dude, I'm telling you, it's so crazy how like every show takes 17 and does like 17, like I said before, is a minor character in Z. He's the least important android besides 19 out of any of them, and maybe 20 if you want to argue in terms of screen time. But it's funny how like in GT he gets the Super 17 arc, which is really short. It's literally the amount of episodes on one hand. Um and then in the Tournament of Power, he gets this huge, massive, expanded lore of having a family and being a park ranger, and it's really crazy how like both shows take this character that was in one arc from Z and make him like the focal or some major part of an arc of the sequels. It's that I just think that's like an interesting parallel I noticed. That would have been fun to watch, honestly. Just the cockiness of Gotenks contrast with the goofy wackiness of Ginyu Force. Just like they could have had Gohan and Videl as the great Saiyamans versus the Ginyu Force with Gotenks, where like they're all doing the poses and jumping around. Because we know that Great Saiyaman 2 is canonical to GT because Videl shows up wearing it at the end of the arc when she comes to like help them, and Goku and 18 have already defeated Super 17. Like the three of them versus the Ginyu Force, where they're all doing poses and jumping around and nah, that would have been really cool. That would have added some nice levity to that arc. And again, instead of having Krillin die, they could have just had because like 18 doesn't need Krillin dying to be invested in the arc. Like she's already invested because that's her brother, referring to 17 possessed like by this evil version of himself to be this fusion. Which, by the way, it's so weird that in GT they have like 17 like not only look the same as he did in Z, because the android age slowly, whatever, like wearing the same outfit, just with like a little overcoat on it. Like he only could wear this one outfit forever. He's wearing the same outfit for like what 15 years, 20 years. Yeah, that's why I thought it was pretty scummy to have Krillin killed off again. You know, Super is the first show Krillin doesn't die in. I realized that like last year. The amount of flack that character gets over the show. And then remember, they don't even wish him back immediately after, because you know, when that arc happens, we find out that the balls are like corrupted. So he stays dead for like the whole, and they don't even talk about him. You like literally, I got to a point where I was watching the Shadow Dragon stuff and I forgot he was even deceased because they didn't mention it at all. Which is why I said I really would have preferred if they had 18 involved in that arc, because she could have been a constant reminder of like wanting her to bring her husband back, you know, like I don't know, just it was just so weird that like they have Goku's best friend die, and then he doesn't get any mentions or references throughout the whole. And it's like compare that with the King Piccolo arc where you know Goku is on the rampage over his friend's death. For a whole 20-some episodes, all you hear about is getting revenge for Krillin, and then Master Roshi later on. But you get the idea. No, I would have if I rewrote that arc, I probably would just have him fight like Tambourine or something and just destroy him. Like where he's like playing with him. Hell, you know what? I wouldn't even mind because Frieza before Super was always known to just be like the same. Every time he came back, he just gets whooped by somebody. I probably would have Krillin versus Frieza, and like Krillin, like they're either evenly matched or Krillin is like stronger, but is like toying with him. And then Gohan versus Cell, and then Goku. It could be like him, Piccolo, and 18 versus Super 17 or something. Or I'd have Goku fighting somebody else. So many good matchups. Dude, imagine if the Shadow Dragon arc had the like 7 different 1v1 fights and they all tie to some different wish. And every time there's a character who's fighting a Shadow Dragon, they have like some like they were either there when the wish was made, or they're like the person the wish was used in effect. But again, the problem, like I have to remind myself which dragon was for which wish, because then we can plot it out effectively. I still think they should have had given like 18 something to do after that arc, because once she disappears, you really do forget that Krillin is still dead. Because nobody mentions him throughout the rest of the series until the last episode. How do you find Omega Shenron as an antagonist? I really like his design. I do like the idea of all the dragons being fused together against their will to you know, become, what do you call it, this ultimate antagonist. But like as a character, he's just kind of whatever to me. Like I don't find him to be any worse of a villain than you know anyone else. Like Baby is my favorite villain from GT because he actually has like a motivation, and you understand. Even if you don't agree, you understand like why he's upset. Um, Omega Shenron's just evil to be evil, but I think he's intimidating, which I guess is like the most important thing. I mean, I don't find him to be any worse than like Super Boo or Kid Boo, for example. They did at least show 18 grieving over Krillin's death. Her voice acted a good job showing the pain she experienced, which is why I was so upset when she didn't come back for Kai. They brought her back for Super and the rest of the stuff after that, but I was irritated. I was like, why did they get rid of her? Yeah, and Kai, 18 and Gohan have the same voice actor. And it's really weird because it's like I'm just thinking to myself, she killed him in an alternate timeline. She killed him in an alternate timeline. She killed him in an alternate timeline. You know what I mean? Like it's just one of those things you think about. It's like I just find that funny. I gotta look up which wish did Shenron get? Did Omega Shenron get made from? See where it is. Appearance, personality. Oh, where are you? Oh, he was okay. Sin was born from the wish made to revive everyone on Namek that was killed by Frieza and his soldiers. Oh yeah, Kai is definitely worth skipping. That show, like I said, Z is not that long. The only part of it that's really long is the Goku versus Frieza fight. But like I told you, the Saiyan saga is shorter than the damn Tournament of Power. It's like 35 episodes. So anytime people tell you that Z is long, that's just like a stereotype thing people were saying back when you could only watch one episode a day on TV. Now you can watch 5 hours of the stuff. You could watch a whole arc in like a week because they're not that long. The only arc of Z that's kind of long is the Buu saga because it's like 96 episodes. But the rest of it is totally fine. That people just overblew how long it was to suck themselves off. But if okay, Omega Shan was evil for the sake of evil, but he was intimidating, compelling. You understood why he was evil. Again, I would still say Baby was my favorite one from that series because I just think he had the best development and we spent the most time with him. But I didn't have a problem with Omega as far as like just an antagonist. I did have a problem with Super 17 because it's like for almost the whole time he's on screen, he's the lackey for Android 20 and Dr. Mew, and then he kills him all the way at the end, and then he's like, it was just weird. Like by the time he's finally free, he only has like one episode left. There just isn't enough time to invest with the other Shadow Dragons. Yeah, the only other one people care about is Nova because he actually is kind of like noble and isn't just pure evil. I think a lot of the other ones just goofy. So if Omega was born from the wish to bring back everyone killed by Frieza, I guess they could have had maybe Gohan and Vegeta fight him because Gohan was on Namek. Oh, God, that's a really tough one. It would have to be some combination of like Gohan, Vegeta, Piccolo, or Krillin or Goku, like one of them. And I know they have Goku fight him in the actual show, but I just because they were there on Namek when Frieza was killing people, so they saw firsthand what that stuff did. I actually like Nova. He was honorable and actually had a good reason for opposing Goku. What about Ice? Damn, fans only care about Nova. Yeah, I mean, that's how it was with 18 and 17. Like I said, when I was a kid, nobody cared about 17, but 18 was all the rage. There are games where you can only play as her and Cell and no other androids. And then Super came out, and now it's like the reverse, or they're even or something. You think I'm kidding? In all the pairings, there's one character that's liked more, and the other one just gets like. Ice was pretty forgettable, to be honest. Dude, but I would say the same thing about 17. Like, the only thing people would talk about with him was the fight with Piccolo. because that's basically all he did. So yeah, whenever you have these pairs, there's one partner that gets talked about a lot, the other one is just whatever. Ice was really forgettable. Like he's just Omega. He's just Nova with like a blue recolor and like a lamer, scummier personality. Dude, Nova was so cool that the developers for Tenkaichi 3 admitted that he was brought in because of how many like fans requested he get brought in. Like that's how memorable he was. Yeah, but it's like he has the same design as Nova, but a personality that's way less interesting. So yeah, he's very forgettable. Let me see what Wish he was made from. I have to always refresh my memory. Let's see here. Brought forth from Bulma's wish for revival of King Piccolo's victims. Probably because how Nova was bonded with Goku. Well, you know what would have been cool? If they had so I said before, like have Goku and Gohan versus Nova. It would have been pretty interesting if like that fight starts with Goku and Krillin versus Ice and like Nova and Ice. Like Goku fights Nova and Krillin fights Ice because Krillin was wished back by the same wish that brought back King Piccolo's victims. Um, so that would like tie into it, and then after Nova gets powered up, that's when Gohan shows up and like him they fight together. Or they could start off with Gohan and then like have Goku. Either way, it works. He was just Nova recolored. Dude, they remind me of Transformers where they just change the color and they're like, if he's white, it's Ratchet. If it's red, it's Ironhide. If it's yellow, it's Bumblebee. If it's red, it's Cliff Jumper. If it's white, it's Bug Bite. Oh my god. Oh, hey, if it's a jet and it's red and white, it's Starscream. If it's black and purple, it's Skywarp. If it's blue, it's Thundercracker. Damn. They really did like pull the Transformers design, like, let's just color them some now. Oh my god. I'm not even joking. Every time I look at a picture of Nova and Ice, I'm just reminded of Transformers. Because they do that so much where they just change the color. If it's a truck and it's red, it's Optimus. If it's a truck and it's white, it's Ultra Magnus. If it's a truck and it's black, it's Nemesis. Oh man. I think they're doing the same thing with some of the like the figure arts for Dragon Ball, where it's like if Goku's hair is yellow, it's Super Saiyan. If it's blue, it's Super Saiyan God Super Saiyan. God, man. If Frieza is white, he's in his he's in his fourth form. If Frieza is gold, he's in his golden form. Like, damn, all the Shadow Dragons have unique designs, and then there's just Ice being a recolor version of Nova. Yeah, they all look distinct and different. And except for those two. That's why I said Nova is interesting because of his personality and like, he's got the red and that's like a color people like. Ice is just he's boring, man. He's just a recolor scummier version of Nova. Like he is Nova without anything interesting to him from a design standpoint and a story standpoint. So yeah, he's very forgettable. That's why in a lot of games he's just a recolor of, like in I think in Tenkaichi 3 Ice is a recolor of Nova. Because no, he's bland. Like he's probably the one Shao Dragon if they don't put in the game. I won't. Yeah, he's bootleg Nova. Yeah. So I know Megumi might be mad at me, but that's just how I feel. No, like Nova's interesting, but but that damn brother of his, you can have him. Anyways, I'm gonna get off here because I've been now going for over 2 hours. I'm trying to get something to eat. Hungry. I'll be back on Saturday. So thanks for showing up, Megumi. Thanks for showing up, Akatsuki Merchants. And have a good rest of your Monday.